Just starting to realize I should have done a little stretching before today's segment. My first guest needs no introduction. We all know him here in the community of Ottawa. Tony Greco joining me, founder and CEO of TG Athletics. Welcome, Tony. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We've been having a great discussion already, so we'll just continue into the live show here.
Yeah, for sure.
You've rebranded yourself. Let's talk about that decision to start off, Tony.
Yeah, well, you know, we were fortunate enough that 7 years ago, a group out of New York was able to take my brand and buy it. And, you know, I stayed on with the brand for a few years. And then what I did, I decided to kind of expand my horizons. And I was very blessed and grateful that I met great people around, including a man by the name of Kyle Dietz at the University of Minnesota. So I just wanted to further my knowledge in the fitness world. And I kept just taking a lot of courses and realized that, like, a lot of the trainers and people here do a great job. But a lot of us, me included back then, no intentions, but we kind of really don't measure things. We kind of take a guess at things.
Okay.
And now I don't teach anything that I have to second guess myself, because we have the whole science behind the training.
Yeah, I guess when you become a personal trainer, you don't have to update. I mean, I guess you can, because, you know, somebody like yourself, you did it because you wanted to specifically do it. But it's not like, you know, if you're a tax accountant, you've got to make sure, you know, you learn the new rules.
Right.
Science changes, right? And then the science of the body changes dramatically over the years, and that's what you've done, right? So tell me this new philosophy.
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought it up, because some trainers don't expand their rise. Like, you know, the more you learn, the more you earn, right? And I know that I've done a lot of research, and what happened is that every dynamic movement, whether you're an athlete or just, you know, someone just moving around like we do every day, reaching over and grabbing something, requires 3 different tempos. And those tempos are what we call the eccentric, the isometric, and the concentric, without getting too scientific. So what happens is, when you do work those 3 tempos in block training, meaning for at least 2 weeks, what happens is a lot of great things to your body.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you feel it in a few seconds here. So what happens is, when you do these movements slowly for the first 2 weeks, it sounds gross, but you're kind of like ripping tissue and repairing it. So I brought this band.
That's how you build muscle, though,
That's how you build muscle.
Yeah.
So I brought this band. If you kind of rip it, and then it gets thicker because it repairs itself in the second block, which is the isometric block, now you could resist more force. And then because you could resist more force, then you could push up more power. So, I mean, it's really easy in a way that you could incorporate this concept in your own workout. And I know you're a big workout guy.
Yeah.
So if you just slow things down and work on the breaking point, you're going to get more out of it. And that's just the basics of it.
Okay.
And I can show you some of this stuff.
Let's do it.
So check it out.
I'd love to.
I brought these simple, you're going to do this because you're a pretty fit guy.
Okay.
So you're going to hold this. I don't let people line up bilateral, because it's not a normal movement in my world, because we're always in transition. We're always going forward. So let's line up this way. So let's rack the weights here.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take 5 seconds to go down slow. So go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now push up fast. Okay, again.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you're doing there is you're resisting this force and you're ripping this tissue. Okay, that's awesome. Now, I keep you in this block for 2 weeks, okay? So assuming you're coming 3 times a week. Now, the next one is you come right down, hold it for 5 seconds. This is where you resist force. This is where you get the strongest.
Right.
And then push up. Okay, and again down for 5 seconds, and then push up. And now let's fast forward the tape. So 2 weeks now, going forward, now you can come up back and forth. So
now
try to do 5.
Now you're doing that.
But see, already your brain adapted to that movement so much quicker, because you were doing it slow the first time, you're resisting force. So you learn the skill set, which means it translates into less injuries, because you know what you're doing. If you're taking your time for 5 seconds, go 5, 4, you're going to make sure that you're paying attention.
Right.
And then the only thing I do with that is I measure your 1 rep max, and I work with 85% of your 1 rep max. I only brought
what does that mean exactly?
Well, let's say you were pressing 100 pounds. Let's say you were squatting 100 pounds. So you would actually use 80 pounds to do all your workout.
I see.
Because it's that force that your muscles are trying to resist through the course of that action, of that movement.
And I get it's doing exercises properly too, right? I'm sure you've seen it, you know, at the gym, and you see people just going crazy.
People just sweat. They think that you have to sweat, but it's like, I used to get people all the time coming to me going, oh my gosh, that was such a great class. And I'm going, now that I know what I know now, I'm like, I was so great about it. Like, you're paying me to sweat.
Right.
But it's like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
For sure.
Because it's conditioning, but what are you really truly measuring? And I think over the years, that's why I started to expand my horizon, because after working with so many people, everybody had goals. It's like, I want to gain muscle, I want to burn fat, I want to become a rower, I want to get better at my hiking trip. So everybody's got a purpose, and all I can recommend is that you want to make sure you ask people, what are they measuring and how are they measuring? Because if they're not, they're just guessing.
Yeah,
and people just do that all the time. They just go and do a lot of circuits and do that, and that's okay. It's not, if that's what you want for conditioning, but you're not gonna, I think get to your destination. Again, it's just, I can give you the data.
You're not going to see the improvement, I think, right? That perhaps you're looking for. And maybe that's why a lot of people, listen, people are making New Year's resolutions. They're going to go to the gym. They've got their membership. 3 months down the road, they don't see as much improvement as they expected. And maybe this is one of the reasons why.
Yes, because you need to see that progress that creates interest. So as soon as, you start to see a little bit of progress, it might not be on a visual aspect where, you look at yourself in the mirror like, yeah, I haven't really changed. But now every time you're walking forward, you're leaning for them. You're like, wow, I got more stability. I'm not like wobbly. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I mean, I know we got so much time left, but it's the stuff that I do also is I make you work out barefoot. Now, you don't have to. Okay. And the reason for that, like, what do you mean? I go, well, because look, all the forces translate through your feet. So every time you pound that pavement, that turf, outdoors, you're leading with that toe. So let's say my toe as I go forward is not stable. Look what happens. My arches of my feet collapse, my ankle, my knee, my hip, and everything trickles down. So the more you strengthen that big toe, because from the minute we're born, we put shoes on and then we lose the flexion in our feet.
Interesting.
Most people can't even do this with their big toe. So
I'm going to try and shoe right now.
It's hard. And it's just because you've been like this, right, for years. So the minute you absorb that force, you just generate way more power.
So Tony, now I guess what you're doing is you're not doing groups. You're really, this is one-on-one, right? If somebody wants to work out with you, you figure out, what their goal is, and you work with them one-on-one.
That's exactly what it is. I don't second guess. I test everything. I measure everything. I could show you data. And I always, implement, if a lot of coaches out there have data they can share, I love that too. So like some people usually email me like, look, I've tried this exercise with 100, clients. I'm like, great, bring it on. Let's do it. And we'll apply it. We're really just out there to get people in better shape, reduce the risk of injury, and just have a better health. And that's what I can give back right now.
Tony, do you think there's a bit of a misconception? You and I talked about this off cameras. People see that you're working with Claude Giroux, and they're like, oh, well, he works with athletes, and the exercises that he puts them through are for athletes only. That's not the case, is it?
Not the case at all. Athletes, look, a lot of them don't get injured. I mean, they play in and out every night. They get banged up, so they have to have balance, stability, strength. Now, as a person, we've all have the athlete in us. We can train movement. That's the other thing. People don't train movements. They train very robotic like this. That's why I had you do a squat like this, because you're always in transition. So movement is key, linear lateral stuff, because that's the way we move. And that's an athlete on its own. So, I mean, you're just doing probably less weight than he is, but some of the movement patterns are very similar. And then some of the jumping will build yourself up for some power, but they're baby steps. But I mean, again, you don't have to be a pro athlete.
You know what I say now? It's Claude Giroux. I'm coming after you, buddy. It's going to be you and me. Tony, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much. You can find out more on his website, and of course, follow him on social media. We'll be right back after this.